Well, hello and welcome to another moment of Aging While Black Live, where we gather in this space on the first Wednesday of each month, 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, to just explore the world of aging while black. For those of you who are joining us, Aging While Black is a multifaceted platform that elevates the voices of Black elders by amplifying their stories, perspectives, and realities. We are focused on collective learning and collective action around the systemic inequities faced by aging Black people in service to co creating policy and people driven responses for better lives that allow them to thrive. I am especially thrilled today to welcome my dear friend and brother, Dr. Calvin Mackie, to AWB Live. Dr. Mackie, welcome.
Welcome, Brother Jetson. Thank you for having me.
So, over the last few days, we've shared a bit about you and your work, and certainly many of the people who will see this, uh, will be familiar with your work in a number of different contexts. But how would you introduce yourself to the Aging While Black community?
Well, thank you for that. And the way I would introduce myself to the Asian White Black community, I'd just like to say that I am because you are. I believe in, what I call vertical mentoring and how we got to have stations and strategy for everyone. But when I start to think about my work, 10 years ago, my wife and I, Tracy, started an organization by the name of STEM NOLA. And primarily it was to engage communities in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, hands-on engagement, because we saw that technology and science was outpacing the growth of people, and especially the growth of the two children that we were raising. So I'm known in the community as the STEM man. People don't know my name, but kids run up and say, "You the STEM man." And I like to give thanks to God for letting me be the STEM man, because that's letting me know that I'm bringing something to our community that they need and want and is thirsting for.
Well, I am glad you are the STEM man also, my brother. So, what does the concept of aging while black bring to mind for you?
When you first came to me, you was talking about Asian while black, it blew my mind because for the longest, at STEM NOLA, we had created what we called a cradle to career pipeline. We wanted to engage the young people and their families. We wanted to engage college people. We wanted to engage career professionals so that they can pour back into, to society. But what you introduced to me was that there's life after career, brother. People who actually retire and they have to be prepared to have a high quality of life. So when I think about aging while black, there's very little research on aging in terms of social class and gender, but there's even more, even more less, if that's a word, research on social class, gender, and race. And we have to understand, aging while black is totally different while aging while in some other community, due to some of the historical challenges that our elders have been through. Not my grandfather, my father-in-law. He's 89. He's turning 90 next month. And 2 days ago, we walked out my house and we were just standing in the driveway. And I saw him observing, my house, the cars, and he started talking about how many cars he had when he had kids. And he started talking about how proud he were of us. And the only thing I can think about is that, he's 89 years old and we're texting and, the world is changing. And Tracy and I just want to make sure that his quality of life, his last season on this earth is one that has, integrity and dignity for him. So what Aging While Black brought to me was that I'm missing an entire sector of our community that need to be engaged around STEM. And I'd like to say thank you for picking that mantle up and running with it and opening my eyes to the need.
Well, thank you. I do just want to name, as you were talking about your experience with your father-in-law, that whole notion of aging with dignity and integrity was just a powerful framing of our hope for our elders and for as we become elders. Of course, I got a head start on you on that part of the journey. And speaking of journeys, Dr. Mackey, you mentioned you and Tracy 10 years ago starting this effort that was rooted in, uh, your recognition of what was happening even with your own children in your home. And my hope, I apologize for digressing, but my hope is that everybody would have an opportunity to see some of the earlier videos of you and your sons on the local news so that they can really see that this is rooted in what began in your home. But starting there, it's 10 years later. STEM NOLA is a thing. STEM Global is a thing. Tell us about that journey from you and Tracy and your beautiful son to where you see STEM NOLA today.
It's in the Black communities, the narrative is very important. The story is very important. We know where we are today, but sometimes we fail to pass the story down. Like I say, sometimes people see the glory, but they
Yeah.
don't know the story. My son was in the third grade, and he came home one day and said, "Daddy, I don't like science anymore." But the teacher just talked to the board, and I said, that's not possible. It's in your DNA. When your mama was playing that classical music to her stomach, I was whispering Newton's four laws to her belly. So it's in you. And he said, "No, Daddy, I like to do stuff with my hands." And in short, we just started doing a whole lot of activities. And this is what privilege is. He was growing up in a house with a mother who was a pharmacist and a daddy who was a PhD engineer. So we knew what to do. So we started engaging him and his brother in all these hands-on activities. And one day he came home and said, "Daddy, my friends want to know how I know all this." I said, "Did you tell them you do this in the garage with your dad?" He said, "Yeah, Dad, but my friends need this." Right then and there, he realized he was engaged to somebody and things that his friends were not. And Brother Jetson, in his heart of hearts, he believed that if the other kids got what he was getting, they'll be just as bright as him. And right then and there, I realized that I was keeping my time, my talent, and my treasure in my house when the entire community needed what I was giving my two sons. And that's when Tracy and I committed to finding a way to bring this to the entire community. And 10 years ago, December 2013, we put up 100,000 of our own dollars, and we had a big STEM fest in the community in Joe Brown Park in New Orleans East. And people questioned, why New Orleans East? And I said, we're going to New Orleans East because that's where the problem is. I mean, everybody want to work on a problem that's already been solved in a community that don't have challenges. We brought the solution to the challenge, a community that's been decimated in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. And on that day, over 500 people showed up. We had planned for 100, and we realized that we had tapped into something. So 10 years later, we've engaged over 150,000 young people, over 35,000 families. We put over $4 million in the hands of college students because we train the college students and have them come out to engage the young people. And we've engaged over 3,000 STEM professionals. And I say that because this speaks to aging while Black. In a high-functioning community, they say is child-centered, adult-governed, elder rule. So if you look at concentric circles in a highly functional community, there's structures. And it's everything you do is supposed to focus on the family and the K-12 kids or the younger kids. The adults are the ones that's supposed to work 40 to 80 hours a week while they have the energy. And that's our college kids. So that's why we pay them, because they have a lot of energy. And then the elder supposed to be freed up by the adult so that the elder can have time, space, and energy to pour into the young people before they make their transition to the next place in our life. And that's how we structured STEM NOLA. So when you came to me and started talking about aging while Black, here I am talking about careers, and we already got a place for the elders, and in in our entire makeup. So the elder is the one who's supposed to be giving back to the young people, but they got to have time, they got to have the freedom, they got to have the space, and that is what we built with STEM NOLA. And unknowingly, we built a model that ties straight into what you was doing. I just didn't have maybe the wisdom. I haven't aged enough, that you was able to give me to see, brother, this is it.
Well, as in the words of my great grandmother when I was a young child, just keep waking up in the morning.
Keep waking up. Keep seeing the sun and the moon, as my mama would say.
You'll get it. So talking about that connecting and that journey, I shared that you honored me greatly by welcoming me and the whole Aging While Black conversation into your laboratory, where you uh, do vision casting, where you are laboring to look at STEM NOLA as a highly effective, high functioning organization, and you made space at your table to sit and to explore and experiment with me around my thinking with Aging While Black, and that second pillar, which talked about embracing innovation and rapid change and innovation, and the creative work that you've been doing in advancing STEM in neighborhoods and in communities where it has not historically been embraced. What Share your thoughts on what you see emerging from that conversation, what we have at this point just called eSTEM or STEM for elders.
You know, uh, and thank you for coming. I mean, sometimes I think, I often tell kids, you didn't pop out of a toaster. You're not a whatchamajig. You're not a whatchamacaller. You're not a thingamajig. You know, there was people came together, and the entire community came together to raise us and mold us. The thing about clay is that, if you take clay and you mold it, you can get what you want out of it. But what my grandmother taught me is that if you don't put your hands on clay, clay still takes a shape. And what we're seeing with a lot of young people, what we're seeing a lot in our communities, we're seeing a lot of people that no one has decided to put their hands on. We often talk about mentoring, right? And we keep talking about mentoring boys and girls to men and women, but nobody talk about mentoring men and women into elders. So there's gaps there. So when you visited me and I had the opportunity to sit and listen to you about the work that you was doing, the vision that you was doing, and then to show you the clay that we were molding. I mean, we have an entire facility where
Yes.
we go in and we tinker and we mess with stuff to make sure that when we bring it to the community, it meets them where they are, where it's digestible for them. And when talking to you, I realized, this stuff is applicable to elders. I mean, when you think about elders, it's very important when they age healthy. When we think about healthy aging of elders, we want them to be fully engaged. We want them to have, their mental health intact. We want them to be socially connected. We want them to have mobility. And then what politicians need to worry about, because so many people are becoming 65 years or older every day, is civic engagement. And the most dependable group of people to vote is our elders. So there's so much misinformation coming through technology and the internet now. We have to make sure that our elders, if they're going to have the quality of life that they desire and they want, that we make sure that they're engaged in technology in such a way that they're not left out or they're not easily fooled. And that's where eSTEM comes in. And that's what I realized talking to you, is that we got some more tinkering to do. I mean, if we're going to take care of the kids and the families, if we're going to take care of the college kids, we're going to take care of people in careers, we got to take care of our elders. So now instead of cradle to career, I'm talking about cradle to elder, right? And how do we tinker and create and put forth solutions of engagement for our elders, such that it will stimulate their brain like it needs to be stimulated, such that it give them the self-confidence to grow with dignity, such that it give them the social inclusion that they yearn for and they need, and more importantly, it'll help them with their independence and their cognitive abilities. So that's what eSTEM is for me. How do we bring forth all of these hands-on activities bringing our elders together, connecting them with younger people so that they can feel a part of the larger community and age with dignity and integrity.
Thank you for that. What do you see as the similarities? I mean, you've spent years working with younger people around STEM. Do you see as potential similarities in working with older adults around being prepared to master this technology that allows them to live the quality of life that you have so eloquently outlined?
Brother Jetson, what would keep me up at night with my fear for my own two children, which is my fear for all children, is not that they're unemployed in the future, not that they're unemployable in the future, but that they're irrelevant. And I want to make sure when we started STEM NOLA, our goal is to make sure that we engage as many kids as possible such that they don't become irrelevant in the 21st century. And what I did not process and what you helped me process and you got me there is understand that that's the same challenge with our elders. We have to make sure that, because they're going to be retired, they may be volunteering, but we have to make sure that they're not even irrelevant in their own communities, that they can participate in society, in a very healthy way. And look, to go, I believe to go to a Saints game right now, you can't use money. I mean, everything is digital, everything is technology. Just to operate, you got to understand technology and its relationship to you and better your relationship to it, or you will be irrelevant. You'll be on the outside of society looking in. And I was worrying about that for our children, which is definitely something to worry about. But we have to make sure that the large number of people that are becoming elders every day have the tools that they need to remain relevant and engaged in their community and in their society.
Well, my brother, and this is not the first time, but I want to share something with you that you have introduced to my lexicon. Uh, there are a lot of phrases and a lot of things that are attached to conversations about elders, all elders, and in particular for our conversation, Black elders. And there are ways of talking about technology and the need to embrace this change and to be competent. But you have just introduced a phrase to me that really connected with me, Dr. Mackie, and that is the risk of irrelevance. If we are not intentional in equipping our elders to be competent and to master technology, the risk is that in an ever-changing world, they will become irrelevant. And that is both a powerful and a frightening thing for me to consider. Uh, so thank you so much for that phrase, and you will hear it again, and as is the case in our relationship, I'll give you credit for it the first time, and after that it was something I came up with. So Dr. And you shared a few things, and you've just been really I appreciate the welcoming attitude and the very kind way that you've spoken of our work together in this area. If there were anything else to say, what would you say about why this partnership with Aging While Black is important to you and important to STEM NOLA?
I mean, when I look at a lot of stuff for me, it comes out of my family, right? People think I have elders in my family. I have elders that I care about. I have elders who have raised me and still pouring in me, and I want to make sure that their world, that the rest of the days of their life on this earth is one of substance and of dignity. But a lot of people don't realize, but you helped me realize that, starting I believe this month, every day, 10,000 people a day will become 65 years old up until something like 2040. They say by 2060, 30% of the US population going to be greater than 60%, greater than 60 years old. So people that we consider elders are going to play a large role in society regardless. They're going to play it either as a worker, as a retiree, as a volunteer, as a grandparent, you know, or just as a citizen. And we have to make a space. We have to intentionally and consistently make a space for them. So for me, I'm gonna be one of those people. And now this is the first time, this stuff is self-serving. A lot of times I'm like, I'm working for the kids. Now I'm working for Mackie. You know what I mean? And there's an African proverb that says, make sure your young man pay for your old man. So I got to make sure that the young man that Mackie was and the middle-aged man that Mackie is now is creating a world for the old man Mackie will be. So I just want to, I want to serve, and I want to serve the people who otherwise serve to me. And I see this as my pathway to doing that.
Thank you. So just two last things. First of all, at this point in the conversation, we give the official AWB magic wand and give you the power to transform anything about aging in America. For you, what would you wave that wand and do? What would you change about aging in America, and why?
If I had a wand and I can wave it, I would want to make sure. I often say that the goal of STEM NOLA is to make sure. We live in a society. We just had this big basketball game, and we have this social commentary coming down, and 12 million people watch this women's basketball game, the most people ever to watch a women's basketball game in the history. And what that let me know is that two things. One, a whole lot of people is watching women basketball for the first time. And two, a whole lot of us people don't know nothing about basketball. So a whole lot of social commentary we get is just people talking off the top of their head. And we cannot risk that for our seniors, right? I would wave a magic wand and make sure that our seniors will be receiving a type of training and education and upskilling that we're trying to make sure that high schoolers get so that they can have jobs, so that our seniors can have, the life that they need, but also have the education and the knowledge so that they can go back and pour into their grandchildren and pour into their communities, such that their communities can know that I am because they lived. And I believe many seniors out there are waiting for us to help them deliver this information to them so they can be better equipped, so that they can start and help to prepare our young people for a better tomorrow.
Thank you, brother. My final question is rooted in this acknowledgement that aging while Black seeks to be a catalyst for a movement, uh, for movement building around these three pillars: recalibrating the village, embracing innovation and rapid change, and leaning into Sankofa, this wisdom sharing. As you reflect upon that, what would be your best hope for such a movement as Aging While Black?
They say hope is a little voice in your head that whispers maybe when the whole world is screaming no. And for many of our seniors, and many of our elders, seem like they wake up every day and the world is telling them no, because the world is not intentional and consistent about making sure that they have the things necessary to have the quality of life that they deserve right now. My best hope is that Aging While Black becomes institutionalized in every city and community across this country, where the elders who need it and deserve it have access to the tools, to the resources, and to the people that'll make them whole, even in the senior days of their life.
Well, thank you, my brother. I do want to let you know, and you probably see some of your tribe, Will Evans and Richard Williams and Lawrence Mackie have been chiming in on the conversation. Uh, Darren Tross, thank you also, and to the Facebook users, and what is it, Vinny Britton. And so just thank you guys so much for chiming in and sharing. Dr. Calvin Mackie, I love you, brother. I appreciate who you are, what you do, what you give to the community, and I'm excited to explore what eSTEM will look like going into the future and the difference it will make. And so, thank you for making time to share this space with us.
Thank you, Brother Jetson, and to all those people who chiming in. I see a lot of those names. They should be really concerned about eSTEM too. So I just want them to know I'm creating something for them too, because because they're gonna be elders real soon. But no,
Well,
Jetson, I say this from the bottom of my heart. I collect people. More importantly, I collect men. And I want you to know I love you as a man committed to society and community. From the day I met you, you've been a shining star, a North Star for me. So whatever I can do to support you and what you're trying to do, just thank you for letting me be a part.
thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Calvin Mackie, stay tuned for the next steps on eSTEM coming to a neighborhood near you. And so thank you for joining us for Aging While Black Live. You can always catch this and other conversations on our YouTube channel. And so thank you very much.